Alright, this is a little more of the Flavius Josephus on the Pharisees and the Sadducees. This is a excerpt from the Flavius Josephus, Antiquities, Book 13, Chapter 10, about the time of the Antiochus line, when the Antiochus line was ruling, and John Hyrcanus. Alright, this is about the time of John Hyrcanus. It says this: Now there was one Jonathan, a very great friend of Hyrcanus, but of the sect of the Sadducees, whose notions are quite contrary to those of the Pharisees. He told Hyrcanus that Eleazar had cast such a reproach upon him according to the common sentiments of all the Pharisees, and that this would be made manifest if he would but ask him of the question, what punishment they thought this man deserved, for that he might depend upon it. That the reproach was now laid on him with their approbation, if they were for punishing him as his crime deserved. So the Pharisees made answer that he deserved stripes and bonds, but that it did not seem right to punish reproaches with death. And indeed the Pharisees, even upon other occasions, are not apt to be severe in punishments. At this gentle sentence, Hyrcanus was very angry, and thought that this man reproached him by their approbation. It was this Jonathan who chiefly irritated him and influenced him so far that he made him leave the party of the Pharisees and abolish the decrees that they imposed on the people, and punish those that observed them. From this source arose that hatred which he and his sons met with from the multitude. But of these matters we shall speak hereafter. What I would now explain is this, that the Pharisees have delivered to the people a great many observances by succession from their fathers, which are not written in the law of Moses. Alright, that's why Yahushua said, beware of their leaven. Because they got the bread or whatever, but they putting that leaven on it. They putting that spin on it. That Bill O'Reilly spin. It says this. I'm going to read that again for you about the Pharisees. The Pharisees have delivered to the people a great many observances by succession from their fathers, which are not written in the law of Moses. And for that reason, it is that the Sadducees reject them and say that we are to esteem those observances to be obligatory, which are in the written word, but are not to observe what are derived from the tradition of our forefathers. And concerning these things, it is that great disputes and differences have arisen among them, while the Sadducees are able to persuade none but the rich, and have not the populace obsequious to them, but the Pharisees have the multitude on their side. But about these two sects and that of the Essenes, I have treated accurately in the second book of the Jewish affairs. Alright. Now, there's plenty of scriptures that I could go into that say the same things and cut them. Alright. I may get them. I might not get them. I get a couple of them for the edification. This is This is Matthew 16:6. And it says thus: Then Yahushua said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Alright, this is verse 12. Then understood they how that he bade them not to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Alright? Because they had points where they was going off. They was plain going off. The groups, all these groups. Alright? Just a little more I'm going to read, and then I'm going to close this thing out. Like I said, I'm not really going to go into the scriptures and cut these groups. Alright? But I might do a little extra to this and go into them scriptures. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is the last thing out of Josephus I'm going to read for you. This is Antiquities of the Jews, Book 13, Chapter 5, Paragraph 9. At this time, there were 3 sects among the Jews who had different opinions concerning human actions. The one was called the sect of the Pharisees, another sect of the Sadducees, and the other sect of the Essenes. Now the Pharisees, they say that some actions, but not all, are the work of fate, and some of them are in our own power, and that they are liable to fate, but are not caused by fate. But the sect of the Essenes affirm that fate governs all things, and that nothing befalls men but what is according to its determination. And for the Sadducees, they take away fate and say there is no such thing, and that the events of human affairs are not at its disposal, but they suppose that all our actions are in our own power, so that we are ourselves the cause of what is good and receive what is evil from our own folly. However, I have given a more exact account of these opinions in the second book of the Jewish War, which I read to you earlier. Now, before I get out of here, I'm not going to go into the scriptures right now on the doctrine of these groups, because I want to see how you would judge these groups just by hearing what they were about before I give you the scriptures. Then I'm going to come back with an extra, Lord willing, through the Spirit of the Lord, and show you where their doctrines were, where parts of their doctrines were wrong according to the scriptures. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make an extra maybe at a later date. I want to read to you just about one more group called the Epicureans, who were around. Now they weren't a sect of the Jews, but you had some of our people that were into that philosophy. It was actually a Greek group called the Epicureans. So I'm gonna read to you a little bit about them also. This is out of the Josephus, where he's writing about the time of he's writing about the time of Daniel. Now it says this. If you read this, it goes into how he breaks down. Josephus breaks a little bit of the book of Daniel down here for you. I'm trying to go to where he, after that, so we know we're not gonna get into those prophecies right now. Josephus basically breaks down what the he-goat was in the book of Daniel, who the he-goat was, the lesser horn, the rams fighting by the sea, which represented the Medo-Persians and the Greeks, and the little horn was Alexander, the first king of Greco, whatever. Josephus breaks that down for you. But I want to go to his discord about the Epicureans. I'm going to just start right here. And indeed it so came to pass that our nation suffered these things under Antiochus Epiphanes, according to Daniel's vision, and what he wrote many years before they came to pass. In the very same manner, Daniel also wrote concerning the Roman government, and that our country should be made desolate by them. All these things did this man leave in writing, talking about Daniel, as the Most High had showed them to him, insomuch that such as read his prophecies and see how they have been fulfilled would wonder at the honor wherewith the Most High honored Daniel, and may thence discover how the Epicureans are in an error, who cast providence out of human life and do not believe that God takes care of the affairs of the world, nor that the universe is governed and continue in being by that blessed and immortal nature. But say, this is what the Epicureans say, but say that the world is carried along of its own accord, without a ruler and a curator, which were it destitute of a God to conduct as they imagine, it would be like ships without pilots, which we see drowned by the winds, or like chariots without drivers, which are overturned. So would the world be dashed to pieces by its being carried without a providence, and so perish and come to naught. so that by the forementioned prediction